Ooh, what's going on, everybody? Shemuk here. Today we're taking a look at the 9.2 update notes in SMITE, including the GOAT Shiva, the new warrior in SMITE. Of course, we'll be taking a look at him in his own video. I'll be doing that in PTS, of course, just overviewing the character, essentially. I don't really like, reading the abilities out and being like, I believe this one will be quite good. I think it just extends the video for no good reason. Like I just did by explaining all that. But anyways, here's a few of the skins. And I really like most of them. I think they look pretty good. And I really like the Scordia one. But of course, we'll have to see what that looks like in game. Then you'll notice a few of these. What are these? Oh my gosh. What are these? Aren't these just recolors of the basic stuff? It is actually something I'm interested in asking you guys about. It is a welcome pass. It's part of the welcome pass in SMITE. So it's like a constant battle pass for all new players, and of course us returning players can do it as well, I'm sure. So it includes some favors, some gems, some boosters, and of course these skins as well. So it's like it's like a one-time battle pass when you first get the game, or of course for returning players whenever you boot up the game after the welcome pass drops. I think that's a really neat idea, actually. Gives you something to do when you first download SMITE, and it's just like, maybe the people aren't really feeling the game. They're just like, this game's kind of whatever, but they're incentivized to keep playing through the welcome pass, and maybe they find a character they like or something, or game mode they like, and they end up sticking with the game because of it. It's a good idea, so I like that. I'm definitely down with that. And that nuance skin, I'm not sure what it'll look like in game, but oh, that is Mood Bay fam right there. That's what that is. I love that that card art. So let's get into the actual changes, why don't we? So the conquest changes delayed the initial back Harpy camp spawn from 15 to 30 seconds. This is a little interesting, but given how they explained it here, I think it's just to reinforce what the optimal start is right now. Of course, Duo starts at green buff, then goes to purple, and they don't want people thinking that you're supposed to just like sit there waiting for the XP because, well, I want that XP. But yeah, it's the green buff is so squishy that like you just like basically one shot it and move on and go straight to purple. Just gun into purple. So making it go to 30 seconds is just like confirmation. Do not wait. Do not wait for this. And they also delayed the initial Draugr Harpy camp. I guess they should probably come up with a new name for that, right? There's no Draugr anymore. From 1 minute and 5 seconds to 1 minute and 35 seconds. So I have to play around this myself in the duo lane, which of course now I feel like I can do because there's not going to be med every single game in the duo lane. So this is interesting. I'm trying to think of it in my head. 135. So I guess it's to avoid like win more, basically. I guess. So I'll have to play around with it myself and see how that feels. But Obelisk decreased the team gold and XP rewards per offering from 25 to 10. So a maximum of 175 gold, gone down to 70 gold for filled Obelisk per loop. That's insane. That's a huge nerf to the obelisks. I mean, that's decent for me because I'll be real, I was pretty bad about the obelisks. Like I was rewatching some of my gameplays, some of the ones I didn't upload, some of the ones I uploaded. I don't know what it was. I just I didn't play around the obelisks too well, and team suffered for it. Apparently, I didn't realize it was quite that much gold and XP. But yeah, that's actually a really significant amount per obelisk. And of course, Indra's scepter is getting. Not Indra's Spear, it's Indra's Scepter. Yeah, Indra's Spear getting a damage nerf, which it does physical damage, by the way. It doesn't do true damage, it does physical damage, but it doesn't say that anywhere. You basically have to Y-screen after you get killed by Indra's Scepter in order to see what sort of damage it dealt. But yeah, it does physical. So it's 2% of your max health, but it's physical damage. It should say that there. Why doesn't it say it? Okay. But it's 2%, so I mean, that's pretty significant. That's an entire third of the damage gone. So a big nerf to this obelisk objective, but of course increase the damage dealt by the obelisk to enemy gods trying to steal offerings in the area from 10% to 15% of their maximum health. So pretty big changes to the whole obelisk system here. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. I think the obelisks are a great idea, a great addition to SMITE. I think we really needed like a grand overarching objective like this, like a rotating one as well. So it's not like a constant objective, but it is something, quote unquote, to look forward to during the match. Something that spices up the match as you go on. It's something to play around as you go on. So, you know, I don't want to see this just become like a tedious little task. Like, okay, I'll get my little 10 gold here. Gee, thanks. So I would like it to be a little bit more rewarding. But you know, then you got to come into question with the Interceptor. You know, how how strong do you want the Interceptor itself to be? Like, what part of this do you want to be the biggest reward? Do you want the golden XP from the Obelisk to be the big reward, or the Interceptor to be a big reward, or like they're both a big reward? To me, I feel like just the golden XP should be the focal point. I feel, you know, the Interceptor is such a strange little buff. It feels like it was tacked on afterwards to give it like a more of a satisfying finish to what you're doing with it. But I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about the obelisks and the offering system. I definitely still want it in the game though. I like it, even though I suck at it clearly. Bro, persistent teleport. What's good with this? Did they test this like at all? It was actually so incredible. I didn't record it, and I feel bad, but I did play one Amaterasu match with persistent teleport. I was persistently teleporting. They were not lying when they named this item, bro. It is unbelievable how frequently you get this up. You know, I understand it's 800 gold. People don't want to spend 800 gold early, but if you don't get behind, you might as well buy this. It was absurd how strong this was, and this was one of the ones I alluded to in my 9.1 bonus patch overview. This was one I wanted changed in the bonus patch because this is so annoying to try and play around. And you guys saw it a little bit in my Sasano solo video. The Cerberus trying to do some rotations. Of course, you know, this isn't something that's guaranteed, right? You can still do a bad teleport. Just because it's on a lower cooldown doesn't mean that you can't still do bad teleports or teleports that are too telegraphed, or you're leeching too much farm, you don't actually get much done with your teleport. So it's not like unbeatable, but it is really, really hard to deal with sometimes. Because it's just like, oh guys, we're gonna do this great fight. Solander's here. Oh, never mind. Yeah, it's an interesting idea for a relic for sure. But I think increasing the cooldown to 110 and then nerfing the passive as well is something that'll need to come. So Aegis of Judgement. Change the damage cap. Well, I'm actually showing the next. Sorry. Change the damage cap from 30% of your max health to be 20% of your target's max health. So that's pretty interesting. That's an interesting way of sort of nerfing but also buffing this. So it's actually more effective if you clap a tank with it, but it's less effective if you hit someone who's just, you know, like say a jungler, ADC, or mid laner. If you hit any of those with this, it'll actually be less, but if you hit a tank with it, it'll actually potentially, of course, be more. So that's very interesting. Of course, this is something that I'll just have to play around and just, you know, cross my fingers and be like, all right, it feels better. But yeah, I definitely got slammed by this a couple times doing like a full Sasano combo, but someone Aegis'd it and just donk or whatever the sound effect is for it. It hurts. It hurts a lot. So that, hey, as a jungler, I'll be taking less damage. So W for me. Calamitous Rod of Tahuti, decrease the warm-up time from 1.5 seconds to 1 second. I definitely noticed that. Like the windup is so long. It doesn't feel kinetic at all. It's just like something that happens a little while after you hit someone with an ability. But they also decrease the magical power scaling to sort of accommodate that to 35%. Okay. It's just of course it's an item you still want to buy because Rod itself is a very good item. So you might as well buy this little damage boost right on top of it. But it's just feels weird in its current state because when it hits, it's like, oh, that was some lovely little damage. Thank you for that. But then there's other times where it just plops on the ground unceremoniously because it took so long to wind up, or warm up as they say. So Bluestone getting a small change, increase the HP 5 from 10 to 15. So this is to sort of cement, because Warrior's Axe is getting changed in the bonus patch. So this is to sort of cement the fact that they want Bluestone to come back a little bit more. They're not really touching other Soul Laner starter items, so are we just going back to Bluestone, which we've had for since the beta, basically? We don't want any new items in here? Okay, that's fine. My voice isn't getting higher for no reason. So increase the HP 5 again. I think this was something that got nerfed on Bluestone last season, so are we just like reverting back to what it was before, where Warrior's Axe was in its base form, and then Bluestone was in its OP form. I mean, yeah, aren't we kind of just like 180ing back to what we had before? Now that I'm thinking about it, I think we kind of are. We kind of are at those stats in Season 8 when Warrior's Axe was just okay, and Bluestone was the one you want to pick up the most. I'm pretty sure the stats are very close to what that was. That's interesting. Well, of course, things like Tainted Steel and what's the other one? The one with damage mitigations, one that people want. I want that item to be good. Dampening swag or something. That one got buffed as well. Those are stronger too now. But it's just like that. People are gonna buy Bluestone. Is the thing. Stone of Binding. Stone of Binding isn't something you want to be too OP because it is 1700 gold, right? You don't want that to be too strong. But your 35 protections, that's more significant. That's more like it, I think, for an actual item that you would want to buy, not just like as a joke or something. So okay, I can see this. But you just gotta be careful because we also buffed Voidstone and Jade Emperors as well. So we don't want to go too ham with all these Guardian items. Okay, calm down. We don't want Guardian Soul Laners again. Do you remember last season, brother? Do you remember RTO? So actually pretty interesting here. Titan's Bane's getting a pretty stiff buff here, which is surprising because Titan's Bane's been getting picked up for a little while now, actually. But I think it's probably one of those situations like the Divine Rune and Spirit of Desolation, where it's like, yeah, it's being picked up, but it's being picked up because it has to be, because it is still the best option, but the best option just isn't strong enough, at least they feel. That's interesting to hear. I wouldn't say that this is absolutely necessary, but it is a fair point that builds have definitely gotten tankier. But you know, to me, this is a power creep issue where it's like maybe you just nerf the relics that enable the tankiness and the items that enable the tankiness instead of buffing the things that help counter that. You know what I mean? Because then we're just gonna keep on power creeping until things are absolutely absurd, right? So that's just my feelings on it. But yeah, Titan's Bane buff, I guess I could see it, given just how tanky some of the tanks are. Okay. Relic Dagger seeing a nerf, which is interesting. I think that's quite funny. This is sort of a nothing item for a while there. Decrease the cooldown reduction of relics from 40 to 30 seconds. So yeah, 40 seconds was pretty significant, and of course that was playing into the hands of the upgraded relics as well, which had naturally lower cooldowns as well. So I think that's sensible, given the fact that a lot of the upgraded relics had pretty low cooldowns actually. So. And Relic Dagger, I'm actually not sure how that would work with Persistent Teleport, but I'm assuming in the current patch, if you went Relic Dagger with Persistent Teleport, you would be persistently teleporting. I already used that. I'm sorry. Jing Wei seeing some buffs. I like that because I love Jing Wei. It's just interesting that they're buffing her at all. Is strange to me. I think she was in an okay place with the new crit changes and stuff. The builds feel alright on her. Don't want her to be over buffed because then she's just going to be nerfed again. But decreasing the cooldown on her 1 and her 2, that's going to feel awesome. I do think the cooldown on the 1, you know, I could take a 14 seconds because it is a potentially very potent ability. It is her wave clear, but it obviously it has a really big knock-up and a really big attack speed stem. So you know, there is a little bit more going on than just wave clear, right? But the 2, yeah, I think bringing it down to 12 seconds makes sense. Because I mean, that is her stim. 12 seconds is probably closer to what other stims are like. And of course, it doesn't give her attack speed or anything. It's just AoE auto attacks as well as crit chance. So, you know, might as well bring her stim back in line with other characters. That makes sense. So Hera seeing some buffs, increase the base damage of her 2. By a decent amount. So it at level 1 as well, the level 1 of the ability, the damage is higher, and then it gets significantly higher by 30 by the time the ability is fully leveled. So that's cool. I think that makes sense. I don't want to get it too crazy because Hera with what was it? Hera with breastplate was a problem. I don't want to really see that again. And that would, this, you know, so increasing her base damage would make builds like that better. So I don't really want to see that. But increasing Argus's protections as well. Not increasing them early very much, which is good. Thank you. But definitely a massive increase late game, which I think makes sense because early game it is quite strong, but then late game it starts really falling off because it could start getting one shot. So I think this makes sense if they want to buff Argus in some way. This absolutely makes sense. Keep it the same, if not a little bit better early game, and then make it a lot better late game. Makes sense. Baka, absolutely massive. Am I going back to Season 2 Shen? Is that what's happening? Am I going back to Season 2 and playing Baka like every game? I can't believe I did that, by the way. I thought Baka was like high skill cap, bro. That was weird. I am still weird. But anyways, now subtracts scaling up to 2 seconds from takedown and or Butcher Blades cooldowns when he successfully eats a minion. That's... yes. Okay. I think this actually helps a lot, giving Baka something that sort of feels like it gives him outplay potential instead of just like running around with your move speed passive and like eating a minion here or there. So I think this adds at least a little bit more dimension to the character, who I think is probably the most bland at the moment. He's probably the most bland character in my opinion. Of course, visually he's very aggressive, but I do think purely gameplay-wise, he has gotten pretty bland. So I think this will add a really nice little dimension to his character, and of course is all in all a massive buff to him. So next up, I was right. Crit Ratatasker is getting buffed. So yeah, obviously you guys haven't seen it yet, but try and crit rat. Oh, it was so difficult. It is honestly quite hard to pull off sometimes. Of course, you can get lucky and get against some not so great people, you know, snowball lead and stuff. But ooh, I was missing that yellow acorn, bro. I do actually plan on doing a video with all the acorns, one in the support role, one in the solo lane role, and then of course 2 jungle, 1 crit, and then 1 with the yellow acorn, which gives you the big stun on Oz 3. But whew, I felt worthless with that crit acorn until I got Deathbringer. Yeah, once I had my acorn, my mace, and my Deathbringer. Until I had that, I felt like I wasn't playing a real character. It was really rough. So what they're doing here is they're increasing this critical strength chance by 5%. I think that makes sense. So you don't have to shoehorn in a different crit item in there or something, or maybe you could fit in a defense item. And then increase the passive self buff after hitting dart from 15% of lifesteal and basic attack damage to 20% physical lifesteal and basic attack damage. So, okay, that definitely makes sense. I think the basic attack damage was good enough. One thing I do think is interesting about Ratatasker is just his first auto feels so slow. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just placebo with the something to do with the animation. Just feels slow, but it isn't actually slow. But yeah, something about his first auto attack just feels really sluggish to me. Maybe take a look into that or something. You know, make it a 0.75 damage one to make it to justify making it faster or something like that. Or maybe I'm just stupid. Yeah, I don't know. How does Ratatasker's first auto feel to you guys? So Kumbha. Pretty small buff, but it is still a buff. So increase the wake up early, slow, and attack speed, slow debuff duration to 2 seconds at all ranks. That's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. I don't know if this is completely necessary though, because some Kumbha players like leveled the mez anyways. So, I guess I don't want to overbuff him because Kumbha definitely needs some love, right? I think he's one of the lower win rate characters. Yeah. Not exactly the buff I would be hoping for if I was a Kumbhakarna player, but hey, buff's a buff. Terra, small buff. 2 seconds decreased on her monolith. That makes sense. 18 seconds is a little excessive for what it is. Obviously, that is her engage, but in the solo lane, I mean, that is also a vital part of her wave clear. So don't want to nerf the character too hard, even if she is a little annoying to play against. And then Hercules, the final change, increased physical power scaling on his 2 by 10%. Damage, not really Herc's issue, but I guess they want to buff the things that are good about him. So there you go. That's Hercules. He's getting a 10% increased buff. So yeah, it's a lot like the bonus patch, where it's just like a little tweak here or there, and it's all stuff that makes sense. Other than the Bakasura one, it's just not a lot of things that make me go, wow, crazy, cool, awesome. So that's a little disappointing, but they are all changes that I think make sense and are sensible. But I would like to try that Baka one in a video. That I gotta try. But alright, that is about it for this video. Do you guys like this patch? Hate this patch? Let me know. Oh,